I stare at the cream envelope in my hands, my heartbeat stuttering against my ribs. My mother's handwriting slashes across the front in her perfect penmanship, the kind that belongs on wedding invitations and thank you notes, not communications with the daughter she helped exile. My pristine Portland apartment feels suddenly airless. Outside, spring rain taps against the windows, a persistent reminder of the Pacific Northwest I've made my refuge. For 11 years, I've calibrated my life to the millimeter me work, my space, my heart all carefully arranged to keep chaos at bay. Then this arrives. I slide my finger under the sealed flap, the paper slicing a thin, bloodless cut, a fitting first injury. Inside, the invitation gleams with gold embossing and promises. Dr. Mallory Keaton and Travis Langford. Request the honor of your presence. The Fairmont Regency. Of course. Where else would my half-sister celebrate her triumph but in Seattle's monument to old money and discretion? My hands tremble as I read Travis Langford's name again. Not a common name, but common enough that I prayed for coincidence. But no small photo confirms it. The same sharp jawline, the same practiced smile that watched me fumble through my research presentation 3 years ago. The same man who looked me in the eye and said, perhaps something less ambitious would suit someone with your background. He hadn't known I was a Keaton then. Now he's marrying one. The irony would be delicious if it weren't choking me. I sink onto my couch, invitation still pinched between my fingers. Memories ambush me without permission. 11 years ago, my father's house. I swear I didn't take it, I said, my voice raw from repeating the same defense for hours. I only went into your bathroom to unplug Mallory's curling iron. She left it on. Celia's perfectly lined eyes narrowed, her composure glacial except for the slight tremor in her manicured hand. The ring was there this morning. You were the only one who entered our room today. I didn't. A $9,000 sapphire doesn't just vanish, Vada. She spat my name like something bitter on her tongue. Mallory stood slightly behind her mother, tears tracking dramatic paths down her 17-year-old face. The performance was flawless. The wounded sister, the violated daughter. Maybe she needed money for something, she whispered just loud enough. For school or something else. The implication hung like poison in the air. But it was my father's silence that truly gutted me. Charles Keaton, attorney at law, champion of evidence and due process, stood in the doorway of his bedroom and watched his wife convict his oldest daughter without a shred of proof. Dad, I said, turning to him. You know I wouldn't. His eyes met mine, then slid away. Celia keeps meticulous inventory of her jewelry. Not, I believe you. Not, there must be another explanation. Just tacit acceptance of my guilt. I want you out of this house, Celia said, until you can admit what you've done and make restitution. I looked at my father again. His jaw tightened, but no defense came. Fine, I whispered, dignity the only thing I had left to salvage. I'll get my things. By morning, I was gone, financially cut off, emotionally exiled, 23 years old with half a master's degree and nowhere to go. I managed to finish school through sheer stubborn will, waiting tables and taking out loans that would shadow me for years. Then came the anonymous blog post that circulated through my department raising concerns about my character. The sudden rejection of my grant application despite stellar preliminary reviews. No concrete proof it was Mallory, just the ghost of her handiwork, always invisible, always devastating. Back in my apartment, I traced the embossed lettering of the invitation. 11 years of estrangement, and now this an invitation that feels more like bait. My phone buzzes. Jareth. Hey, I answer, my voice steadier than I feel. Meeting just wrapped. How's your day? His voice carries the calm certainty I've come to depend on. Interesting mail today. Bills or opportunity, he asks, our usual shorthand. Neither. An invitation. To Mallory's wedding. The silence tells me he understands the magnitude. Are you okay? I walk to my office, where a locked cabinet holds 11 years of meticulous documentation, emails, financial records, screenshots. Evidence of a pattern I've tracked with the precision of the data analyst I became. They think this is bait, I say, my voice strengthening. It's actually my chance. I pick up a pen, filling out the RSVP card with steady hands. Vada Keaton plus guest will attend. Other memories flash back. My graduate apartment was so small that when I stretched my arms out, I could almost touch both walls. But that night, It felt expansive with possibility. So this algorithm analyzes food deserts against income data? Mallory leaned forward on my futon, her manicured fingers tracing the lines on my laptop screen. At 22, my half-sister somehow made even a ratty college sweatshirt look elegant. Not just that. I refilled our plastic cups with the cheap Merlot I'd splurged on for her visit. It predicts nutritional outcomes based on transportation routes, store inventory patterns, and seasonal availability. Nobody's combined these factors before. The data hummed with purpose on my screen, thousands of hours distilled into elegant columns and rows. My advisor had already called it groundbreaking, a community health revolution waiting to happen. And this helps poor people how? Mallory's question sounded genuine, lacking her usual venom. I sat beside her, our shoulders touching in a rare moment of sisterhood. A 7-year-old in North Portland shouldn't get diabetes because their neighborhood only has convenience stores. My model helps city planners identify exactly where to incentivize grocery stores, farmers markets, or transportation options. It's brilliant, she whispered. And for one suspended moment, I believed we had found common ground. Her medical studies and my public health work different paths to the same goal. I showed her everything that night. The proprietary algorithm, the 3 years of community surveys, the statistical innovations my advisor said could change how we approach urban nutrition. When she left the next morning, she hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, Vada. 4 days later, I couldn't find my backup files. The most important sections are just gone, I told my academic committee. Their faces hardened with each stammering explanation. My presentation faltered. Slides showed placeholder data instead of my groundbreaking analysis. Perhaps your ambition exceeded your organization, Dr. Whitcomb said, peering over his glasses. I had it all, I insisted. Someone accessed my cloud drive. I can prove. Miss Keaton, Dr. Silverman's voice cut like a scalpel. I expected more from someone with your potential. I left the room with my academic reputation in tatters, my fellowship application withdrawn, my graduation delayed indefinitely. Depression came for me like high tide, insidious and complete. I stopped attending classes, stopped answering calls, stopped believing in systems designed to reward merit and punish dishonesty. Until the alumni newsletter arrived 3 months later. Keaton Scholar revolutionizes community nutrition model. The headline announced over a photo of Mallory accepting an oversized check. My limbs went cold as I read phrases I'd written myself, methodologies I'd developed through countless all-nighters, even my data visualization color scheme. I printed the article with shaking hands, then found her thesis in the university database, downloaded every page, highlighted every sentence lifted from my work. This can't be happening, I whispered to my empty apartment. But it was. The sister who destroyed my place in our family had now stolen my professional future, and done it so perfectly that any accusation would sound like the bitter ramblings of the family failure. I created a new folder on my computer that day, named it Evidence, started the patient work of documenting every stolen idea, every plagiarized passage, every falsified result. Someday, I promised myself, when I have irrefutable proof. 2 years later, I met Jareth at a data security conference. He listened to my story without the skepticism I'd come to expect, his forensic financial analyst's mind tracking the patterns of theft I described. People who steal once usually don't stop, he said, helping me establish more secure cloud storage for my reconstructed research. I rebuilt my career meticulously, working twice as hard to regain half the credibility I'd lost. While local medical journals praised Mallory's innovative approach to community health disparities, I gathered evidence in silence. Years passed. I tracked Mallory's meteoric rise through Portland General's residency program into a prestigious attending position. Each accomplishment shadowed by the knowledge of where her foundation had come from. Then an email arrived from an address I didn't recognize. Miss Keaton. You don't know me. My name is Teresa Winters, RN at Portland Children's. I worked with your sister last year. I have information you should see about a patient incident that was covered up. A 7-year-old boy. A miscalculated dosage. A coma that lasted 3 weeks. I'm risking my job by sending this, but someone needs to know the truth before it happens again. The attached report shows her negligence and the case dismissal arranged through your stepmother's connections. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't about stolen research anymore. This wasn't about me. This was about a child who nearly died, and the next patient who might not be so lucky. At the present, 2 days later, the spreadsheets covering our dining table tell a story more damning than any accusation I could make. Numbers don't have motives. Data doesn't hold grudges. Look at this, Jareth says, his finger tracing across a row of figures that shouldn't exist. $47,000 in medical consulting fees paid to you in 2021. I lean closer, the pit in my stomach hardening into something dangerous. I never consulted for anyone, let alone received that kind of money. They used your social security number, your old address in Seattle. Jareth's voice remains steady, but his jaw tightens. They've been doing this for years. Our apartment has transformed into command center laptop screens, glowing with tax filings and bank statements, sticky notes creating a constellation of fraud across our walls. 3 days ago, I was just a woman with an unwanted wedding invitation. Now I'm mapping a criminal enterprise that bears my name. How did you even find this? I ask, scrolling through records I never created. Jareth's smile is slight but fierce. Financial forensics is what I do, remember? Once I knew to look for shell companies connected to the Keaton Family Foundation, the pattern practically announced itself. He pulls up another Documenta financial disclosure form with my signature. Except it isn't my signature. Close, but the loop on the in Vada slants wrong. They forged my signature. The words come out flat, emptied of the rage building beneath them. Multiple times. Jareth opens a folder labeled with precise dates. These go back 8 years. Your identity wasn't stolen once. It's been ongoing. I sink into a chair trying to process the magnitude. They've been using me as their tax mule even while pretending I don't exist. Jareth nods, sliding another document toward me. The foundation itself is mostly a tax shelter. See these donations to medical research organizations? They're actually payments to offshore accounts. The charity work is window dressing. How much? From what I've traced so far, nearly $3 million laundered through various accounts. The IRS would be very interested. I stare at the evidence of my family's betrayal, methodically organized and irrefutable. My anger transforms into something colder, more calculated. Show me everything. I need to understand all of it. For hours, Jareth walks me through their scheme of false deductions, the hidden accounts, the paper trail leading back to my father's meticulous hand. The respected attorney, the philanthropic doctor, the society wife, all of it built on fraud with my name as collateral damage. We need to be strategic about how we present this, I say finally, arranging the evidence into clear, chronological displays. And we need backups of everything. The cobalt blue dress hangs on my closet door like armor waiting for battle. I slide it over my head, the silk cool against my skin. In the mirror, I see someone stronger than the girl who fled Seattle 11 years ago. You look ready, Jareth says from the doorway. I am. I smooth the fabric, noting how it skims rather than clings. Nothing about me will be desperate or seeking approval. Did you finish loading the tablets? He nods. Everything's backed up to 3 separate cloud accounts. Even if they somehow get the physical devices, the evidence remains. We spend the evening rehearsing what to say, when to reveal each piece of information. Timing matters, location matters, the audience matters. What if they don't care? The question slips out during a pause, betraying the doubt I've kept buried. What if they just dismiss everything like they dismissed me? Jareth takes my hands, his expression serious. That's why we're bringing evidence, not accusations. Truth doesn't expire, Vada, and this truth has teeth. I squeeze his fingers, grateful for this man who understands the power of proof over persuasion. The drive from Portland to Seattle the next morning follows the curve of memory as much as Interstate 5. Rain streaks the windshield, the landscape blurring into shades of green and gray. I rehearse keeping my voice level, my face composed when confronted with the people who discarded me. Remember, you're not asking for anything, Jareth reminds me as farmland gives way to suburbs. You're not seeking approval or forgiveness. You're delivering information. Information they can't ignore, I add, watching Seattle's skyline emerge through cloud cover. After we arrived, our hotel sits 3 blocks from the Fairmont Regency, close enough for convenience, far enough to avoid accidental encounters before we're ready. The room is modest but clean. Nothing like the luxury suite I'm sure Mallory has reserved for herself. We spread our evidence across the bed one final time, reviewing each document, each bank statement, each forged signature. The contingency plans, the backup files, the careful script that will guide us through tomorrow's confrontation. My phone buzzes. A voicemail icon appears beside my mother's name, a woman who hasn't called me in over a decade. I press play, setting it to speaker so Jareth can hear. Vada, darling. Celia's voice oozes warmth that never existed between us. We're just thrilled you're coming tomorrow. Simply thrilled. Do call me back. I'd love to hear what you've been up to all these years. Maybe we could have breakfast before the rehearsal? There's so much to catch up on. The transparent attempt to gather intelligence before tomorrow's event almost makes me laugh. 11 years of silence, and now she wants details about my life? Are you going to call her back? Jareth asks. I delete the message with a single tap. No, let's maintain the element of surprise. Later, as we lie in the unfamiliar hotel bed, Jareth's arm curves protectively around my waist. You know what I was thinking about today? What? I ask, watching headlights trace patterns on the ceiling. How family is supposed to be the people who know you best and love you anyway, but sometimes the people who know you least are the ones who share your DNA. I turn toward him, finding his eyes in the dim light. And sometimes the people who know you best are the ones who help you build spreadsheets of evidence. His laugh is soft against my hair. That's us, spreadsheets and justice. I rest my head against his shoulder, feeling more certain with each breath. Tomorrow, they'll learn data doesn't lie. The Fairmont Regency Ballroom shimmers with old money and new ambition the next day. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across white tablecloths while Seattle's elite circle like sharks, trading business cards and calculated compliments. I adjust the sleeve of my cobalt dress armor disguised as elegance. Ready? Jareth asks, his hand warm against the small of my back. I nod, scanning the room. As I'll ever be. We enter without fanfare, yet heads turn. Conversations pause mid-sentence. The power of the unexpected, I've learned to wield it like a scalpel. 11 years of absence transformed into a precisely timed entrance. My mother spots me first. Celia stands near a ice sculpture, champagne flute frozen halfway to her lips. Her smile calcifies perfect teeth, dead eyes. She whispers something to my father, whose head snaps up with such force I'm surprised he doesn't injure himself. Vada! Mallory's voice cuts through the murmur. She glides toward me in white silk, arms outstretched, performing sisterly joy with Broadway precision. You came! I accept her embrace, noting how her fingers tremble against my shoulder blades. Congratulations, I say, my voice steady. Beautiful venue. Travis, come meet my sister. She beckons her fiancé, who approaches with the cautious step of someone crossing thin ice. Recognition flickers in his eyes the moment they meet mine. 3 years ago, those same eyes dismissed my research presentation with a single, contemptuous glance. Now they widen with alarm. Dr. Keaton, I say, extending my hand. We've met before. University of Washington Medical Research Symposium, 2022. His hand is cold. Miss Keaton, what a surprise. Vada works in data analytics now, Mallory interjects, her laugh brittle. In Portland. Data integrity, specifically, I clarify. Fascinating field. Patterns emerge when you know what to look for. Travis swallows visibly. Interesting. Not just recognition, there's fear there. Jareth squeezes my elbow, gentle your signal to circulate. We move through the reception like water, pausing at strategic intervals, gathering fragments of conversation like evidence. Youngest chief resident in the hospital's history. Groundbreaking paper on nutritional interventions. Celia must be so proud. 2 brilliant daughters. My father intercepts us near the bar, bourbon clutched in his hand like a shield. His face has aged beyond his 62 years, new lines carved around his mouth. Vada. He attempts a smile. You look successful. Not, I've missed you. Not, I'm sorry. Just an assessment of my apparent value. Dad, I reply, you look tired. His flinch is nearly imperceptible. Listen, about what happened. Charles. Celia materializes at his side, her coral dress matching her lipstick with military precision. Don't monopolize our guest. Vada, darling, tell me about Portland. Such an affordable city, I hear. I smile. Very practical for someone starting from nothing. Her eyes narrow. And what is it you do again? She analyzes data patterns. Jareth answers smoothly, extending his hand. Jareth Wilson, financial forensics specialist. Celia's smile slips a fraction. How? Interesting. Both of you in numbers. We believe in accountability, I say. She steers the conversation toward meaningless social chatter, but I notice her eyes darting to Mallory, who hovers near the wedding party table, watching us with poorly disguised panic. When dinner is announced, we take our assigned seats far from the wedding party, naturally, but with perfect sightlines to the head table. I unfold my napkin with deliberate care, watching Travis whisper urgently to Mallory, who shakes her head with increasing agitation. The first course arrives. Wine flows. Toasts begin. Mallory's mentor from medical school rises, champagne in hand. I've had the privilege of watching Dr. Mallory Keaton develop her revolutionary approach to community nutrition. I feel Jareth's hand on mine as my knuckles whiten around my water glass. Her brilliant capstone project changed how we understand nutritional interventions in underserved communities. I stand, my chair scraping against hardwood with surgical precision. The room falls silent. I'd love to hear more about that capstone. I say, my voice carrying across the suddenly hushed ballroom, especially since I designed that methodology, before it vanished from my hard drive 11 years ago. I lift my tablet from beneath the table, tapping it once to illuminate the screen. I believe in data integrity, so I brought receipts. Side by side on the screen, my original research draft and Mallory's published paper, identical passages highlighted in damning yellow. Travis Langford stands abruptly. All eyes swing between us, witnesses to the first fracture in a facade 11 years in the making. I was afraid of this, he says, and every head in the ballroom turns toward him in shock. A week later, the newspaper headline glares from my laptop screen. Prominent Seattle physician's wedding postponed amid professional allegations. I close my eyes, the image of Mallory's crumbling facade still vivid in my mind. Her perfect mask split open as Travis stood beside me, confirming he'd been investigating her credentials for months. My phone buzzes for the 9th time today. Another Seattle area code. I let it ring through to voicemail like the others. You know they'll keep calling, Jareth says from the kitchen of my Portland apartment. The scent of strong coffee fills the space between us. Let them. I tap my stylus against my tablet, organizing screenshots of each missed call into neat folders. Every contact is evidence now. The voicemail notification appears. I put it on speaker. Vada, this is your father. His voice sounds older than I remember from just days ago. What you've done to your sister, to this family, is unconscionable. We raised you better than this. Call me back so we can discuss how to fix this mess you've created. Jareth glances at me, eyebrows raised. Interesting take on reality. Classic Charles Keaton, I say, filing the audio recording, still blaming the wrong daughter. My email pings with a notification from an unfamiliar address. The subject line reads, Washington State Medical Board, case number 47,291. Jareth moves behind me, hand resting lightly on my shoulder as I open it. Miss Keaton, I read aloud. This letter confirms receipt of your documentation regarding Dr. Mallory Keaton. The board has determined sufficient evidence exists to warrant a formal investigation. You will be contacted regarding testimony within 14 business days. They're taking it seriously, Jareth says. That was fast. Teresa's documentation made the difference. The whistleblower nurse's evidence turned my personal grievance into a public safety concern. No medical board can ignore a 7-year-old in a coma. I open another browser tab, typing Langford Medical Solutions whistleblower. The search results populate with articles from medical watchdog blogs. 3 days ago, these sites received anonymous packages containing Teresa's documentation about Mallory's negligence. The story spreads like wildfire through healthcare circles. Look, I point to a fresh headline. Seattle Memorial has removed her profile from their physician directory. Jareth squeezes my shoulder. How does it feel? I stare at the screen, trying to name the complicated swirl inside me. Like watching a sandcastle wash away, something beautiful from a distance, built on nothing substantial. My tax software alerts me to a new message from the IRS. I click through security questions to access it. They're auditing the Keaton Family Foundation, I say, scanning the formal notice. Full-scale review of the last 7 years. Jareth whistles low. My contact came through. When they find those falsified tax forms with your stolen identity, they already have. I scroll further down the document. Look at this paragraph. This notice confirms Vada Elizabeth Keaton bears no liability for previously filed documents under investigation. They're formally clearing me. I lean back in my chair, 11 years of vigilance crystallizing into this moment. Data always tells the truth eventually. The doorbell rings, unexpected and jarring. Jareth moves to the security monitor while I close my laptop. It's Celia, he says, voice flat. Alone? He nods. Let her in. My stepmother looks smaller than I remember, designer handbag clutched like a shield against her chest. Her perfectly highlighted hair shows strands of gray I've never seen before. You've destroyed everything, she says without preamble. Are you satisfied now? I stand perfectly still, feeling strangely calm. I didn't destroy anything, Celia. I just stopped protecting you. Protecting us? Her voice rises sharply. You've been plotting this for years, gathering information, waiting to strike. Your own family. Family doesn't steal from family, I reply. Not sapphire rings, not research, not identities. Her eyes widen. The IRS is freezing our accounts. Charles might face charges. Mallory's career is ruined. Consequences aren't the same as destruction. I meet her gaze directly. I didn't forge tax documents. I didn't plagiarize research. I didn't misdiagnose patients. Celia steps forward, finger pointed at my chest. You were always difficult. Always thought you were better than everyone. Now look what you've done. I don't back away. What I've done is provide evidence. What happens next isn't up to me. You could withdraw it, she pleads, her anger collapsing into desperation. Tell them you made a mistake. But I didn't make a mistake. I walk to the door, opening it gently. The truth doesn't need my permission to exist. She stares at me, suddenly recognizing that her power over me has vanished. Without another word, she walks out. 2 weeks later, I sit in a sterile hearing room before the state medical board. 5 physicians in business attire review documents at a long table. Teresa sits 2 chairs away, hands steady despite what this testimony might cost her. Travis Langford occupies a seat in the back row, his presence both surprising and validating. When Mallory enters, she wears vulnerability like an expensive perfume calculated, applied with precision. Her eyes sweep over me without recognition. The board chairwoman calls me first. I approach the table with the same evidence I've maintained for years. My voice doesn't waver as I outline the pattern of academic theft, starting with my nutrition research program. Teresa follows, detailing the medication error and subsequent cover-up. She describes finding falsified credentials during her own investigation after the incident. When Travis steps forward unexpectedly, murmurs ripple through the room. I discovered discrepancies in Dr. Keaton's credentials while conducting due diligence for our marriage, he testifies. Her claimed rotations at Johns Hopkins show no record of her attendance during the specified dates. Mallory's head drops forward, her perfect posture finally failing. The chairwoman speaks after a brief deliberation. Based on evidence presented today, this board orders the immediate suspension of Dr. Mallory Keaton's medical license pending further investigation. I meet my sister's eyes across the room, seeing for the first time not the confident physician or the manipulative sibling, but someone who built her entire life on shifting sand. The truth doesn't need my vengeance. It simply needs space to exist. A year later, I hang the framed newspaper article beside my office window, where afternoon light catches the headline. Portland nutritionist launches groundbreaking community program. My reflection ghosting in the glass shows a woman I'm still getting used to, someone who stands straight, who doesn't flinch at shadows. Perfect spot, says Rosa, my research assistant, box cutter in hand as she slices through packing tape on another container of nutrition education materials. The kids from Northeast Portland will be here in an hour for the pilot session. I nod, surveying my new domain. Not the corner office with mahogany furniture I once imagined when planning my career, but something infinitely more valuable, a space filled with truth. The community center donated these rooms after our grant came through, walls freshly painted the color of spring wheat. Posters displaying nutritional information designed for neighborhoods where fresh food is scarce hang beside charts tracking our early successes. My phone buzzes with a text from Jareth. Board approved the additional funding, full rollout in 3 more neighborhoods by fall. I allow myself a genuine smile. 1 year since the medical board hearing that shattered my family's carefully constructed facade. 1 year of rebuilding something authentic from the wreckage. Dr. Keaton? Teresa appears in the doorway, no longer wearing hospital scrubs but the business casual of her new role as compliance director at Portland Memorial. The Oversight Committee wants to know if you'll join next month's ethics panel. Only if you're moderating, I answer. Our unlikely friendship, the whistleblower nurse and the exiled daughter, has become one of the unexpected gifts from the rubble. Teresa laughs. Already confirmed. They said your last presentation changed their entire approach to verification protocols. I turn back to my desk, fingers brushing over the leather notebook where I still document everything. Old habits. The drawer below holds a single cream envelope, the wedding invitation that set everything in motion. I don't need to open it anymore. My father called last week, his third attempt at reconciliation since the foundation scandal broke. His voice carried the unfamiliar weight of humility. I've been going through old photo albums, he said. Found that picture from your 8th grade science fair. You built that nutrition tracker for diabetics. I remember, I said, neither cold nor warm. You've always been brilliant, Vada. I should have. His voice cracked. I should have believed you. Too little indeed. But something inside me had finally stopped waiting for his approval. Celia hasn't spoken to me since she appeared at my door, mascara tracking down her face as she demanded to know how I could destroy her family. My answer still stands. I didn't destroy them. I just stopped protecting them. Mallory vanished from Seattle after her medical license was suspended. Rumors place her in Arizona, working retail. No apologies have come. I no longer expect them. The intercom buzzes. Your 2 o'clock is here, says Marissa, our office manager. The community leaders from the East Side neighborhoods. I straighten my cobalt blue blazer, the color I now wear without hesitation. My chosen armor. Coming, I reply, gathering my presentation materials. As I pass Teresa, she hands me an envelope. This arrived for you. The Medical Ethics Conference at the Fairmont Regency. The same hotel where my sister's wedding was supposed to happen. But this invitation has my name as featured speaker. Full circle, I murmur. What was that? Teresa asks. I tuck the invitation into my notebook, just thinking about my opening line for the conference. And what's that? I look at her directly, the way I've trained myself to do when speaking truth. Data doesn't lie, and neither will I. The community leaders rise as I enter the conference room. These are my people now, the ones who recognize authentic work, who value evidence over appearance. I set my materials on the table, my rings steady on fingers that no longer tremble. My story is no longer edited by others, and that makes all the difference.